Hi. As you may already know, online coaching is something that postcollegiate athletes and collegiate coaches sometimes turn to in order to supplement their income. So we see a lot of postcollegiate athletes starting their own online running coaching business. And they might just start with their network of people, start advertising on Facebook, and get some followers, some fans interested in their coaching. And then they might offer some training plans and phone calls and unlimited contact with them. Charge $100 a month. There you go. You've got your personal training coach. It's an expert you can go to anytime. Some people will limit the amount of time you can contact the coach based on the fee that you're paying or what kind of training plan you might get. You might get a training plan and not personal coaching depending on what you're paying. There are even sites that will create training plans for you based off of algorithms and the data that you provide. And so all of these are really interesting because they show, or they are created based on different assumptions about athlete motivation. They assume an athlete will be highly motivated to follow through on a training plan once it's provided, and don't offer a large sense of community in most cases. So that's what this is about. It's about if you are one of these athletes, coaches starting to coach online, how you can create a sense of community, which has been shown even within individual sports like running, to have positive influence on running outcomes and enjoyment of running. Increased motivation in online athletics coaching, athletics referring to running. In a study by Hodge and Lonsdale called Pro-Social and Antisocial Behavior in Sport, the Role of Coaching Style, Autonomous versus Controlled Motivation, and Moral Disengagement, a really great article about factors that increase pro-social and antisocial behaviors across a variety of sports. It was noted that antisocial behavior is more common in individualized sports, but that the role of the coach can greatly influence pro-social behavior in athletes. Because athletes will enter the online social setting with different experiences related to coaching, whether or not their coaches emphasized controlled motivation, extrinsic motivation, or intrinsic, more pro-social behavior. An athlete will come to your course with one of those two tendencies unless they're very, very balanced and have an understanding of the benefits of both within sport. And so to start off with, as you will likely find, you have a lot of people who have at least some sort of intrinsic motivation, but will do well with some extrinsic as well, is to just offer some rewards for motivation in in online settings like group discussions or in social networking sites. So some things you could do is, like, if you charge a monthly fee, you could offer a coupon for posting a certain amount of posts per month on the discussion board, because the athletes are already paying something for your services. So you could, theoretically give them some of that money back as an extrinsic motivation for participation. You could offer public recognition, athlete spotlights on your social media feeds. Make sure you obtain consent to use that information first, however. You could offer prizes and conduct giveaways for certain pro-social behaviors, like just whatever you would determine that to be. It could be like encouraging other people on your team. It could be contributing to the same discussion board. It could be attending events, or it could be like being involved in some social media advertising for the company, or adding some sort of expertise to the group. And so if you have, as most athletes do, some sort of sponsors, because this is for profit, you just want to be careful about how you endorse those products with giveaways to your athletes. But otherwise, if they like it and they'd be willing to endorse it, might be able to use it as an additional extrinsic motivator. Some other things you can do in order to include athletes in authentic learning experiences is to provide peer-to-peer interaction as well as athlete-coach interactions. I find that this is something that is missing from a lot of programs that I've researched, is that you're usually interacting as much as you would like, if you pay enough, with your specific coach. There's not a lot of sharing of expertise among athletes in a really well-planned way. There might be like a social networking site, but that sort of access to an elite and expert community rather than just athlete-coach relationship is not a large part of many programs, and I see that as an area where online running coaching can improve. So make sure to cultivate a running community in an online setting that's structured and that highlights people's expertise. Offer community discussion boards so you have access to peer-to-peer expertise sharing, and you can create some authentic learning experiences where athletes are analyzing something that they all have in common or have a shared task and then are sharing their expertise. You can have some athletes train for the same event so they can share experiences about that event and information about the races. It's like what the course is like, if it's a new course that many people don't know about, or like have them research the course together as much as possible, or create a guide to the course after they've run it. If it was like, let's say it was Los Angeles Marathon, you have 3 or 4 people running it, they all might be able to meet up, or maybe they could like together construct like a plan and do some research on the specific routes and specific climate and things like that of the actual race. So some collaboration. And then offering online events where athletes have access to other experts through Adobe Connect meetings or Skype or any sort of app that can help you do that. So that could be like getting together one night a week as a team, having office hours to augment athlete-coach interactions. It could be having a guest speaker, such as like another really great coach or someone who's really specific to a specific event, or like a race director. Anything that would be really interesting to athletes and that would enhance their running performance as well as their sense of community and their value in your program as being a part of a community of experts. And finally, some general coaching best practices for online learning should be implemented just like you would if you were designing any other online course or being a teacher. But I know that many of you don't have a background in teaching, mostly a background in coaching. So the same things that you would see in coaching would apply, that you need to create goals with the athlete based on the feedback that you get from them. And you need to have some sort of ipsative assessment, which could just be like their performance in a race. And then you need to adapt those goals that make sure they're always attainable and measurable, and that the athlete is the one who is doing most of the data collection throughout that time and able to self-monitor and self-reflect throughout the process. Also, just in general, making expectations and procedures very clear for athletes as to what kind of data they need to collect, when you expect them to be communicating with you, how you expect them to participate in general. But since this is probably not a class that's going to be offered in an educational setting, it's probably a for-profit business, you have to understand that a lot of the motivation is going to come from extrinsic factors, but that you can really increase motivation and participation by designing your courses well according to best practice in coaching that you may already know and what you've seen from good coaches you've had before, as well as just being very, very clear about every step along the way of what's expected, because you don't have the cushion of meeting face-to-face in order to clarify those questions, and people might not always be super, they might be a little tentative to call you and ask you about general procedures and things like that. So just best practice, have good design, and hire a professional if you need to. Consult people who are good at education. They don't have to be coaches per se, but people who have done direct instruction or understand ipsative assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment would be good people to talk to as well. Finally, I've created an annotated bibliography on Google Drive at this URL, which is a link that anyone can access. So you can see a couple more resources about athlete needs and online running communities if you're interested. Thank you so much for viewing this, and please watch my other videos about online running communities. Thanks so much.